Welcome to Shadows of Dawn.
And welcome to Shadows of Dawn. This is another DM build. This is session 4 for the Vanguard, which is the second group, formerly known as Group B. So the Vanguard have chosen to go to Fellhammer in order to investigate a problem that one of the proprietors, one of the new owners of a mine, a silver mine, can't open his mine because they say it's haunted. So this is one of the first 4 missions out of the, I think there were about 8 missions that kind of came out of the Eye of Sorrow Festival. And so this is the last of those 4. So it's going to be kind of a cave build. So follow with me and let's get started here. Let me show you kind of what's going on. So our adventurers are currently here in Sarenshire. They will probably travel through the North Trail, Northwest Road, over to Fellhammer. Fellhammer is known for mining. So this is where their problem is. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the map. Pretty simple map. Just generated this map off of a little dungeon generator online. Pretty easy to do. Once again, you know, everything's not going to be perfect, so we're just going to work with the map and work with the tools that we have, and build out a nice little cave dungeon, right? Okay, why don't we go ahead and head on over to the table and let's get this started. Got my new map set up, so hopefully you guys can see a little more of me now. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But this setup, we're going to do slightly different than the others. I'm always a big advocate of having action in front of each person at the table. So with this setup, I actually am worried a little bit about the width. You can kind of see on the map here, this long width across the back. And I didn't want to build the map this way on the table, because I always like to kind of have the entrance kind of at the opening end. So I'm going to build it this way. And while I'm a little concerned about the width, that's one thing I want to keep an eye on. So in this case, I'm actually going to build the map backwards to forwards instead of front to back. So this will be a little bit different. But just something DMs will do. I have all sorts of terrain set out here, so let me get some of the bigger terrain pieces and just get them out here on the table. These are some of the very, very old Dwarven Forge terrain sets. These are the ones that kind of, it's like a resin, a poly resin, if you will. These are the ones that basically, it's not the Dwarvenite. This is kind of the heavier stuff. But the nice thing about the heavier stuff is they made them in kind of these 4x4 squares. So you can kind of cover a lot of room really quick instead of the little 2x2 Dwarvenites. So one of the big advantages of having these. And I just want to get these out here on the table so I don't have to keep walking back and forth. I always like to set out my stuff on the table if I can. So I kind of look around, it's like I have a pile over there, and I have a pile back over here behind the camera that you can't really see, or maybe you can kind of see it on this camera. Just so when I'm ready to build. So it's basically 6 rooms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to start kind of at room 6 and kind of build along through room 5 because reasons. So if we kind of look at room 6 here first, it kind of has this little cul-de-sac. I always like to use these pieces here as kind of a cul-de-sac piece. And let me kind of get my camera over here a little better so you can kind of see what I'm doing. There we go. That should cover most of the width, and I'll adjust it as I go. But yeah, I'm going to use this cul-de-sac piece to kind of cap off the end here. And then I want to come straight across. So I'm just going to use some straight pieces. And if I count my squares, just to kind of get a realistic size of things, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, about 14 across, so that's 8 total right there. Got about twice that distance. And it is going to start to curve 1, 2, maybe if I curve it a little. These little curved pieces here. And that actually seems, it just feels a little large. Sometimes you just kind of operate off of feel. So we're just going to cut this down a little bit. Kind of curve that wall off. Add these nice little janky pieces, which are kind of cool for certain things. In fact, I could use one here. You see how these kind of cross pieces, they do this weird thing to kind of like cut a right angle. So it kind of cuts a corner, which kind of makes you just have to use it very strategically when building. And if we kind of look at our width into the opening, we're looking 10, 20, 30, 40, about 50 feet wall to there. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. It's really not that far. About here. So we're kind of using this as a target, if you will. And if we do that, and we kind of have that squared off there. And actually I can use one of these pieces here. It just gives a little extra dimension. If you kind of take a look at how that wall bends in a little bit. See how it bends in, just kind of gives a little extra dimension to your dungeon. And there we go, we gotta have the basics. So before I kind of fill in gaps, I do kind of want to continue this back wall, just to see how this back wall is going to go all the way across. Actually, put that map there, because I want to build this out. The first thing I notice is I'm going to run into this like obelisk here, columns attached to the floor, attached to the ceiling. So I'm going to run into a column. So I need to figure out how I'm going to do the column. And the column gives me about 10 feet between kind of the end of the hall and there. So we're going to start building our column. Now one of the ways you can build these columns is really just to use these kind of janky pieces. And when you have 4 back to back to back, it actually builds out, technically, a column. There's really no interior. You can fill that in. In fact, I can drop in something for filler, just so you don't see all the way to the bottom, right? It's really just aesthetic look, and that actually gives me a nice column. Then I kind of want to build out this way. And the nice thing is I can just use regular floor tiles here, because I'm going to use these as the inner walls. To show you what that looks like, grab a few. Right. So these kind of become the floor tiles of the column, or around the column, if you will. I definitely like these janky pieces because they kind of help you go at angles, but it's not wide around the column. It's actually pretty narrow. So we use more of these to kind of come around it. And it's got a long way to go. So actually, why don't we use some of these? Now it breaks out here. You see how it divots back? And that's actually what those little funny pieces are for. So when we use them as a column, obviously you're eating up those pieces, and that can be a problem. So there's another way to build a column, and I will show you. The other way to build a column is to really just reverse. You can use the curved walls to build a column. So here's the other way. The other way is to use 4 curves and use them to the inside. The problem with using 4 curves to the inside is you see how it kind of leaves the little rounded backside? Now they do make, and if you have them, they do have the semi-curved fillers. They don't always work super well. So the other way to do it is to either stack these, and if you will, you take just 4 of these, and this will actually give a little height to your column. That way with 4 of these, see how it just kind of raises up now? So you still have your column. And now it's more circular. So that's the other way to do a column. Obviously the other way is to use corners, but Cave doesn't make corners. What Cave did is they made the janky pieces, which are the 90-degree turns. So you can't really escape by using the corner angles like you can with the dungeon. It doesn't quite work the same. Something to be aware of. So if I want this jut out, you just kind of drop step a little bit like that. And I'm not going to make my jut deep. Just want to jut it back out, drop it back in. And yeah, it even has another one. This is such a wide room this thing generated. And I don't think I'm going to use all of it. Like I said, one of the nice things about the quick generators, it's really to give you an idea. And I even explain to my PCs that even if they are given a map, somebody just drew this map. Doesn't mean the map is perfectly accurate. It's just a go-by. And that's really kind of the rule that I use as a DM. It's a go-by. So, as you also notice, this has an exit in the back. And I don't necessarily want an exit in my dungeon, so I'm just going to ignore it. And let's see, that curves back in. You're getting way over here. I should go ahead and move that chair out the way. Let's go one more. I do want the player over here to maybe be a little close to some of the action. And actually, why don't we go ahead and use a double arced curve, and we'll use the second double arced curve in order to kind of round out the back end over there. So yeah, if you're looking over this, they can move back across here and out in here. And we have a very large center area here that we will have to build, which is fine. And we can do this. So we also need to come around this corner, and we can cut that one. We can cut that one pretty close. Technically, we probably should be one more away. Let's see. There we go. A little narrow on the inside there. Let's kind of come over and curve back in. It kind of gives this arch here. And the other thing I like to set up is I like to set up my openings. Like where are my openings going to be? So I kind of have a setback piece. Looks like I need to come in, then I need to set back, and what I'm doing is I'm kind of following this little area here, right? And I want to create this opening, and I want to create this opening, because then this will help me kind of set up what's to come. Right? So if I'm looking at that, I have an opening there. It's kind of narrow, so it's only really about 10 feet. There, and for all intents and purpose, it is a 10-foot opening. So as you can see, I'm getting super close, right? I don't want to be that close. So we're just going to adjust. We will set this to there. And what we're looking for is we're kind of looking for an interior there. It looks like we probably want one of these right angle pieces here. And a wall piece here. maybe a right angle piece here, and that also means we're going to cut this one back. Just one, because we do want the opening here. This opening will be a little narrower than what we have. But one of the other things you always kind of remind DMs is when you generate maps randomly, these will generate in fives. 5, 15, 25, 35. Dwarven Forge doesn't work like that. Dwarven Forge is always rounded. It's, you know, tens, 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet. So you have to kind of improv with what you got. So one of the things here about coming around the back of this piece is we will have flat on the back. So to avoid that, we can leave that open actually and kind of go with two pieces back to back. And in this case, what we're really using is we're just kind of using a floor piece. But as you see, that kind of leaves us with a 5-foot gap. Kind of wondering how that happened. How did I leave a 5-foot gap? Who stepped in it? That's how I did. Got my little 5-foot push right there. And in that case, I think we're just going to have to cut that one short there too. Because we shouldn't have a 5-foot gap. Should never have a 5-foot gap. And I want to make sure. Check all the pieces, make sure we're aligned. One of the things you always want to check here, and I have some broken tiles too, which are kind of nice. These broken tiles for floor, kind of break it up. They have some little elevation pieces, so you can kind of scatter them in. But what I like to do is I do like to make sure that my widths are fitting, right? So immediately here I find out, I got a problem because I have a 5-foot gap here and I shouldn't. So we kind of got to go back and figure out, all right, what went wrong somewhere? This is always one of those little strange things that you kind of find. And what it probably is how I set my column pieces here. I should have set them as such, and these pieces, they were just off. When I set them, they were off by 5, and that'll do it. That will throw pretty much everything off. And if you throw everything off like that, you will turn around and basically be like, oh, what do I do now? Those little checks, checking your width, so important. I mean, so very important when you're doing a dungeon build. Saves you a lot of time as long as you check your widths kind of as you go. And you really only need 1 or 2 spans down the middle to help you do it. Because then everything is going to be based on the 4x4s. So that will all work out quite nice for you. So like if you look back over here, I'm just going to plug in some of these little missing pieces here. And voila. There'll be a lot of dungeon floor. This is started with this one because this is the larger area back here. So I wanted to make sure that I had this one all done. And I have some very large dungeon tiles to help consume some of the large space back here. Once again, I'm going to make sure all of these are occupying their square. A little bit of a push on one side. That's one of the nice things about these grids. Mats by Mars, always give a shout out to you. Congratulations on your new baby, by the way. I'm super happy for you. Off by 4 again. Oh, I can see it right here. This column. This column right here is off by 4. Off by 5. There we go. Move it up. Close it in. Just got pushed. That was all. As we fill this in, it's going to take a lot of these floor tiles. Good thing set. This is the Cave Kickstarter. Quite a few years ago now. Let's keep that up there. Alright. I like it. Came together quite nice. Looks quite chaotic when you start to set it up at first. But now I kind of have this whole back part, which is room, it's room 5 and 6 if you're looking at it correctly, 5 and 6. And this is kind of how it's mapped. Right, so all through here and through there. Now I can kind of modify if I want, right? So I can see a couple of things that I like and I don't like. I kind of wish, I want to make this narrower here, so I want to bring this in a bit. So to bring this in a bit, what I really need to do is I need to get down to here, which isn't really that hard. I'm just using a little piece like this, and it also means I got to get rid of this guy and use just normal walls, which I have plenty of, and then they're just wall to wall. So there we go, nice little deviation spot. There we go. I want to make that narrower. My players will be like, because he's a mean DM. No, it's not so mean. I just aesthetics, you know, look good. All right. So let's start with the far spot over here. We're going to start with this area over here. So what we have. We kind of have this odd-shaped room with kind of a large opening. The room itself, let's see, it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, it's about 60 feet long once you kind of come out of there. So all that really is 6 squares. And if we want to build it, let's see, this is 40 feet of the end. And I kind of want it to kind of come back in. So I need 4, 1, 2, 3, and let's see if I got something a little different here. Here we go. I had one of those. I guess we'll just use one of these. Let's switch these guys so it's not so. There we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 60 feet long. Needs to come out, so we will kick back. One of those 90-degree turns. Drop in creature here. We can kick back again if we want, but we're kind of making a little alcove. Oops, sorry about that. You can also kind of kick back with these curves. They just kind of give you an interior instead of a sharp angle, but it also kind of keeps you in a diagonal. And the nice thing is, if you want to make a little alcove, you can kick back in. And since we're not really playing with anything on the inside, we don't have to worry about how it sits, which makes that nice. And we can just kind of keep that there. Even make it a sharp angle here. And let's use some filler on this one. And by the extra filler, I mean the ones that have the boxes. They have changed terrain. It'd be a little hard to see. You see how it's elevated? So the PCs, if they want to go over it, they can go over it. A little athletics check. Sometimes it's not, athletics checks are fun when the DCs are maybe like 5 and 10. Because, it's a short way to go over something. I just want to vault this and keep going. And, that's great. That's what, DCs are supposed to be kind of cool like that. It's like, yeah, heck yeah, let's vault this and keep going. So I want to kick that back. But yeah, if they roll, if the DC's 10 and they roll total under a 5, because somebody's playing a Dex fighter, I'm not going to say who, and they don't have anything in athletics, which is always, I think, very, very strange. And it's a great fighter, nothing in athletics. Alright, we kind of have this room here. And if they roll under 5, then they eat it, and ouchie. So let's kind of come in here. We need to basically kind of connect this off from an inside perspective, right? So you can kind of do that here by making a point. You can also do it here, giving it more of a roundedness. In fact, what we might do is make this a little narrower here. So as this, there we go. That's how this would have to sit. A little bit of a choke point. And we can also move there, there, and there. And this creates that little dead space, which is this dead space here, which is kind of this black column, if you will. So now that we have that space, we're going to open up into a larger room this way and a smaller room off of that way. Pull the camera back a bit. So you see this goes pretty quick, and a lot of the reason is because you do the right measures with the pieces so you don't get stuck later. Speaking of get stuck, I need to get over here and grab a few more wall pieces. So in just a minute. I want to make sure I have plenty, because from a cave perspective, it's not a lot of little tight rooms. This is some open rooms, and that's kind of a different dynamic for the players. A lot of times they're used to such small little tight spaces, and even though we have choke points, but some of these rooms have some good depth to them. Actually, down here, I kind of forgot to put in a little wall. I'm just going to close that up there. Got it. All right, now let's open this up. Let's go ahead and do that first. Kick one. Actually, look, we can straight up widen this like that before we kind of kick it back. This is a large room over here, actually. We'll kind of use that to help me out. Drop in a couple of tiles there. Drop in a couple of here. No floor left behind. Also, when you have them all, you can kind of bunch them in together. So I need a little rounded piece here, so I'm just going to use a curved wall instead of a straight wall. There we go. And yeah, let's kick this one back over here. Actually, let's go ahead and use a large piece since I have a this is supposed to become a large room. And I know it's not straight this way, as the map kind of wants a little bit of an angle, but again, we're kind of playing with it a little bit. In fact, we're going to play with it a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. In fact, I'm going to do this. And I have a little something in mind I'm hoping is going to work out. Because I kind of want this corridor here. So if I use this as kind of my junction point, then I'm playing off of it this side, and I'm playing off of it to that side. And that will let me actually want to handle room 3 here. It's upside down on the map because I'm holding it upside down, but I want to go off this branch off to here and build that room first. Basically, I'm doing that because I'm standing on this side. It's a lot easier for me to reach things here, but once I have stuff built, I don't want to mess it up by reaching that direction. So we're a little narrow over here, and we have some cool tools to help with some of these narrow corridors. In fact, it is the Cave's Narrow Passages set, which I am a big fan of, by the way. Love the Narrow Passages set, and you can do some really dynamic things. And in fact, this whole little branch is kind of a narrow passage. So let's take some advantage of that and use narrow passages. They also, the old cave system also has what they kind of call a crawl through. So if you look at this piece, there's really open-ended here And then there's one little place to kind of climb through here. It's kind of like a squeeze. Like, so if they find this little area, they can kind of squeeze through it. And I like that. So I want to use this. In fact, I want to use it here. And so this is kind of the entrance that's going to go down to that path. And what we're going to do is we're going to use first kind of a wide landing piece. The only thing about that is I don't like the way it turns. I want it to move that way, so we're going to use this piece instead. So yeah, like a little narrow corridor. Then we're going to kind of spin off that direction. And then, let's see what we got over here. We got this a really cool piece and some dead end nodules, which I'm a big fan of. I like these. Oh, we also have this turn. I like this turn. See this? They can actually kind of go under here if they want. See that? It's just a turn. But it turns back here. And then I'm just going to use, I want a very small end cap. This is from the narrow passages set. That's that whole corridor over there. That's awesome. Love that. Now, we have two rooms. We have the giant room here, and then we kind of have a big room here, right? So one is going to take up this area, and another one's going to kind of take up this area over here. So, and I want to use this piece. I just feel like I want to get it in there somehow. And I can, really. This can be the path to one. This can actually, if I put it here, it's just a dead end. It doesn't have to be anything there. And in fact, I can kind of use a little curved piece to lead back over to area 1, which will be here. And I can use these pieces to kind of close that off. Alright, so now if I'm looking at my pieces, I want to make sure that my pieces are 10 by 10, right? So once again, let's not fall into the trap. So we'll slide. It's basically measuring, is what we're doing. Slide that over. This room kind of, let's see. So if I have that there, sometimes these pieces are a little odd. There we go. Have that there. Means that can be there, but I can also have something here and just have a floor section. More floors. Ooh, lots of floors. Caves need lots of floors. And that's just a little, that's very narrow to get in, but once you kind of get in like caves, once you get into it, they can open right up. Let's see, I want some, need to start thinking about these elevated terrains here. And since this is a cave structure, I'm not going to be dealing with a lot of secret doors, which is kind of nice. But yeah, these little elevated terrains, sometimes they'll give the adventurers palpitations. They'll be like, uh-oh, I mean something's hiding. They start to outthink themselves. And that's okay, let them outthink themselves. There we go. Get all that coming together. Let's kind of close this up here. We don't need it to jut all the way back. This area is quite large, actually. Let's see. See if I have any more rounded curves. And I do. I actually do. Actually, I have a very large rounded curve. You know what? I might save this for that area over there. Here. Got it. Nicely done there. Another little rise. And we don't have to worry too much about broken terrain because I have some extra stalactites, or stalagmites, I should say, that we can also use, or I should say that we will be using in order to further break up the ground. These are just built into the floor so that they're easy peasy to use. Okay, got that part. Now for the last one. Last part is the very first room and the exit. And what I might actually do is I might actually move this exit over just to make it more over here. I think symmetrically on the table that will probably look a whole lot nicer. I like my new wide camera so you can see me way over here, which is great. Okay, so let's build this area 1. And yeah, we have this jinky little mashup over here, which just kind of looks cool. Area 1. This will be my entrance. And the nice thing about the entrance is I actually have this little mine entrance, right? Put that on the very front. We'll decorate it, make it look cool. Area 1 has a small column, but it is kind of a wide room. Let's probably come out a little bit. Let's set the parameters of our room. And once again, this is going to be all about kind of measuring our distances, right? And make sure things even up in the forest. May the forest be with us always. So let's kind of come one over before we curve back. Area 1's not huge. It's a good size. I can move this over one. Kind of like it to be a little in the middle. And not much back. Some of y'all might got it. Let me get a couple more wall pieces. That's a good thing I have so many of these. One of the things you always want to make sure is, how much stuff do you have before you start laying it all out? It does take a lot. And I know, goodness gracious, there are collectors out here who have even more than I do. I'll admit, a little bit jelly, but you know what? We're all in it for fun, and that's what's important. All right. All right, looks like I'm kind of lining up pretty good here. And in fact, if I want, now I better not kick back. I'm a little afraid of kicking back here because, like, running out of space. 1, 2, 3. Let's see what I did. I need a space here. I should just give me one more space here. And the rules of 5s. And there we go. Walls are set. Nice. I like it. Actually, I want to use there's some different corner pieces that I have that have some nice stuff on the inside, which just gives a little bit different texture and look. But right now, everything is looking good. Let's go ahead and fill in the floor here. Some kicked up terrain. I actually want to make this. Goodness gracious. We definitely taxed our floor pieces. Seems to be one of the things with Dwarven Forge is there's always like this one piece. It's like I know the guys at Dwarven Forge make they make dungeon stuff and test it, but for builders like me and some others, it's like your piece counts per pack. It's like I don't know if the plan is to make you have to buy more, but yeah, sometimes there's just one piece you didn't make enough of. It can be a little frustrating sometimes. It's like, why did you give me so many curved walls? There's not that many round rooms in a dungeon. It's like, no dungeon generator, no crafter I've ever seen has put that many in there. It's the way it goes, I guess. I'm going to grab a few more walls because I'll show you some of the cosmetic things I like to do for the players. Just for setup purposes. Really adds flavor. And if you have the pieces, there's really no harm in doing it. And it doesn't really take that much more time. And the thing is, it's so subtle. Players don't really notice. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let me move some of these boxes out of the way. It's the old styrofoam boxes that they usually come in. Get that out of the way. Alright, so if I pull back at the whole table, I'm kind of looking at it. There we go, a little like that, right? So here in the entrance, right here, this is supposed to be like a cave, right? So, or a mountain. So what I like to do is I'll just kind of help them get that facade, you know. It's like I want to build that facade feeling for them so that they can feel like, oh yeah, it is a mountain, check it out. It just helps give the illusion, you know, and I can, you know, do some things out here like a little encampment or something to just kind of help with that. And in fact, one of the nice things Dwarven Forge did. Actually, I should really just bring this up here. Is they have these broken terrain pieces. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. And they are basically abstract floor pieces. Like this. Little abstract floor pieces. And what these are good for is they're good for this. You just kind of slide them in like that. And see, these don't really have to obey any kind of square, right? But it just kind of gives the idea that the terrain and the floor around this is just kind of broken, maybe a step up. There you go. Just makes that front area just kind of look a little broken. I like that. And we can use them for elevation breakups in the main dungeon. All right. Now for some of the cool stuff. First, we're gonna do some of the big stalactites, stalagmites. We got some really big ones too. So these are always cool to spread about. Break up line of sight. Just very large stuff like that. I guess that really large one I just chunked down right there in the middle. Just plop this guy down, right? This is just like any wargaming set, really. Now you can just kind of plop. And you have some of these that you can figure out how to get them to work. Maybe that's a low crawl. You have to actually crawl under there. Some of these are just, you know, different types of stalactites and stalagmites, right? You don't want these areas to be too just, you know, wide open. In fact, back over here we want kind of lots of them because this area is so big. The other thing you can do, and this always has to do with, you know, how many floor plate pieces do you have? You can always double elevate, right? And let's do that. So by double elevating, you're really just setting another piece on top of a piece. In fact, you can kind of put it on a quad, because now it doesn't really matter. And all these are doing is just changing elevation lines. It's like this area is built up. You have to go up and over. You can vault it. Right. Some people do this, some don't. I just wanted to do it. I don't do it very often. If I need to for going up something, then I will. But I just wanted to give you an idea of what that looked like. Another idea. The problem with those is doing that is the fact that they can slide. And that's really the only downside of doing that, is because they will slide. Let's see, I'm going to grab some more brack, some more stalactites, some big ones, and even have some more overhangs. See, these are nice overhangs. They just kind of hang between any entrance that you have. I'm gonna put another one here. Like low crawl, high crawl. I really want to break. Oh, here's a big one. Do that there. Lots of them to break up line of sight. Just like you have to move around certain things. That's a nice thing. Let's put another one here. Just straight down the door. Broken elevations. These are the ones that I will usually use in order to break some elevation up. And these are the ones that you can just throw anywhere. Crumbled next to the column. Don't really like to use this one very much, but if you use two back to back, it kind of takes care of those flat pieces on the terrain, so that they don't look so flat. I can show you what I mean. So I'm using it here on these two pieces. These are both, they kind of have a flat back to back, if you will. I don't want to say it's flat, but it helps break those up. The other thing I can look for, if I want to use any mine entrances, like I can right here, because here is a nice little doorway that I can have a mine entrance. Just gives it a little extra dimension as they kind of walk through it, because it's a narrow passage. I can do it here as well, which I will. In this room, I'll just take out this little piece right here, and I will insert the mine door. There we go. Just look for those. Next thing I'll usually like to do now is the plant vegetation. Cave plants, of course. I like cave plants. Actually, it's kind of weird. It's not weird. One of the things I like the most about the plants actually is just the fact that they bring color. They just bring color to the game. And they bring just a little something extra. And sometimes the players, and actually in my campaign, my players do, I have a whole plant list for them to look at and use and develop their herbology. And basically every single dungeon, I'm not giving away much when I say this, there is some sort of plants somewhere that the PCs can possibly harvest. And that is one of the cool aspects of the game, is basically being able to use the herbalism kit in order to harvest some stuff you might need. So place these around. I always want to be very careful, because when you come back to read what's going on, I'm going to keep these available. is when I read the rooms, I had an idea, right? Every time I make a module, there's some sort of idea about the room. And if I say a room is devoid of plant life and I stuck a bunch of plants in there, well, that doesn't work. So, that being said, most of this is laid out. So now, I always go room by room, just kind of read through my descriptions again to see if there's anything particular I need to set in the room. So, room 1, actually, if I have a second mine door, that would work really good for room 1. So, pardon me a second. And wow, found one real fast. I found one real fast for room 1. And just put a second mine door right there. Perfect. Love it. Room 1. Entrance of the mine opens quickly to a large cavern, low ceiling, narrow opening to the south, which would be here. A large column sits in the eastern end. We forgot to make that little column. Yes, we did. Well, that is a large column. That could be the column, and I'm perfectly fine with that being a column. I do have this piece though, which can make it even larger. Just kind of, there you go. Let's do that. So if I do that, put a little plant up here, and then I have these little, like, spore things. I don't even know what these are. It's just decoration. I'll put that up there as well. There we go, large column. Damn. Those are riser blocks, by the way. That's it. Room 2. That's this big room here. See on the map? Yeah. That big room here. Let's see. Passing through a network of low tunnels reveals a much larger chamber. Ground is rocky and difficult, but you can clearly see the body of a miner laying near the middle of the room. Aha. Bodies. Gotta have bodies. Oops. Let's see. Grab a couple just in case I need another. But let's go ahead and put the body possibly in a clear line of sight. If they came through here, they'll be able to see the body. Actually, let's turn this a little. Let's give that a little. And we're going to switch these so that our notes match up a little bit better with our sayings. There we go. So that way, no matter which one they come through, there is the body. Perfect. Yes, kind of see that? The body's here now. So doesn't matter if they kind of come out of this room or they come out of this area, they can see the body. Dig it. Nice. Nice thing about caves is descriptions don't have to be that difficult. Room 3, that's the one way over here. That's our dead end corridor. Back there, they're gonna get swarmed by some rats, some cave rats. The cave dead ends in a small round chamber. You can see a gathering of tiny bones, cloth, leather scraps, and rubble gathered neatly in a small pile. Okay, we have bones. Always have barrels and bones, boxes of both. So I have a very tiny bone pile. If you are very tiny bones. And if I take over here, and I'm just going to set the bones there. Set them in there. And in fact, let's go ahead and put some vegetation in the back corner. And let's just check, is there anything in this room? Just a small statuette that they can find. So the room doesn't have a lot of detail, but they will be swarmed by rats. Some giant rats when they go down there and explore that room. Yay, rats. Alright. Room 4. This room way over here. You smell decay. Okay. Around the corner, gathered bones, small and medium sized. And yes, this is where they find the carrion crawlers, large tentacled creatures. So I have small and medium-sized bones. Some small piles of bones, big piles of bones. I could actually lay a skeleton down if I wanted to. There we go. If you can see that there. I'm just scattering some bones in there. Let's put no, let's not put that there. Let's put maybe a small plant over there. I think back here in this front room, I'm going to place like some equipment, like in here in boxes, just like a box, some barrels. Because the whole idea was they came in and they were getting ready to get started, and then they left because it was haunted. So it's like maybe they came in and brought a few things to get going, and they were like, "Oh, this place is haunted. We don't want none of that." So you put more boxes, and they made it over here to the second room. This guy brought in a box. Use a small box, not a big box. Got attacked by whatever. Okay, room 4, done. Now the big room. Room 5 is the really, really big room that we have way over here at the end. Set that down in here. There you go. Large chamber, rocky, stalactites, stalagmites decorate the large cavern, 20-foot ceiling. From the far end does come a hint of daylight. What was I thinking? Oh, I know what I was thinking. I was thinking that there was a breach in the back of the mine. That's what I was thinking. Sometimes you remind yourselves. And there we go. I wonder if I can use this. This would be good. I can use this as an interior wall piece. Use that. Let's move that into there. No, it would have to be here. And they would have to have that opened. Alright, good. You get to see me work through a challenge. Sometimes when you're building, we can't remember everything all the time. We do a pretty good job most of the time, and that's all we can ask for. So there we go. Let's bring that to there, and yeah, we can keep the curve there. There we go. So now we just need some floor. 1, 2, 3. Yes. So in this story, basically what happened, now that I'm recalling everything, basically what happened is there were some orcs from the First Age which managed to find a back entrance into this mine where they did encounter the beasties, and as the orcs were trying to hide, well, they got it. They got toasted, because this is the room where the orcs are. And this is where they have some of their, this is where they came in and they got attacked, and then they ran down a direction, which would be this way to room 6, and that's where they died. Room 6 is kind of a little cluster room. In fact, actually, now that I'm reading Room 6, I do want to open up Room 6 a little bit more. So I can still do that. This is why you always go back and read, just in case. Always go back and read your rooms. Because I want this room to be a little bit wider. Use the kickback curve. No, that didn't work too much. Just the straight open. There we go. Just need some floor tiles. And those I have. Still. There we go. I like that a lot better. Vegetation there. Much better. Opens that room up a bit. Yeah, still have some big old stalagmites, stalactites. Just spreading them around. Yes, so this is one in which there is a cinder root plant. And I will use this special one to identify the cinder root plant in this room. That is one of the special plants that they can't find. I'm also going to do just a few more little things to break up. Alright, room 6. Looks like it was used to make a small camp. You see distressed bedroll, what looks to be remains of a campfire, and a crate. Several skeleton remains are strewn about this area, but they do not seem human. Alright, awesome. So, we'll actually have, I'm going to use some of these, kind of these flat skeletons that aren't necessarily on round bases, and I like these because I can use these mostly as dead bodies. I'll show you what I mean. So, they have these really micro bases. I don't know if Gordon Forge made them or whoever made them, but they lay a lot flatter, so they look more like bodies as you kind of lay them out. If you see, I'm laying them out over here in this area. And I do have a bedroll. In fact, I have a distressed bedroll. I have the remains of a campfire. Some good stuff here. Tree stump. No, we need that. Oh, this is just nice little fire ring. No fire in it. So we're just gonna put that there. Bedroll. And yeah, orcs had some stuff, so we're gonna put some orc stuff back here. More plants. I got a little plant. Barrel. They brought some stuff with them. Not a lot, but some stuff. Let's go and put below. Love my stalactites. Alright. And those dead orcs there. Nice. And actually, you know what? We're going to put a little empty box. It's right here, crate, busted. Maybe a clue. Alright, cool. So, kind of looking over the whole thing. That's back to front. Pretty much everybody at this table is going to have a little bit of action in front of them, which I always like to do. I always preach that quite a bit. Now for the fun part, red herrings, spider webs. There we go. And ironically, there are no spiders, so these are just little whatever spiders that have basically created big webs. And yeah, they just always freak the players out. So, and we're absolutely going to do spider webs. And we'll do 3. You want to overkill it. There we go. Overkill. 3. Overkill. Let's see. Larger. I do. I'm just going to replace some of these really small guys with some of these larger stalactites. They're just more stable. I like them better. So, one of the cool things, if you do lighting, I haven't done this really on camera, but I have, if I look up, I'll show you the ceiling real quick. I have a ceiling fan in here, it helps keep us cool. But the lighting is has LED bulbs for Alexa. So Alexa, set the lights to caves. Alexa, set the lights. Alexa, set the lights to cave. No, she's not doing it. Alexa, set the lights to caves. Alexa, set the lights to dungeon. There it goes. Dungeon. I always got to remember the right words. It's kind of hard to see, but it's green, but you can kind of see the tint that it threw on the table. Just change the tint a little bit. Alexa, set the lights to day. Watch the tint. See how that lightens up? You can do other ones. Alexa, set the lights to mysterious. And you just set your routines. Mysterious throws kind of a purple hue across the whole table. Really kind of cool. And that gives you kind of a nice idea of what it's going to look like. So, Alexa, set the lights to day. I'm not to figure out if I made a cave setting or if I just decided to call it Dungeon and Mysterious, which is probably what I did. Probably decided to call it Dungeon and Mysterious. The other tip is remember, remember your routines. Write them down. All right, so one of the things I do want to do is I like to kind of decorate out front a little bit. So out front of this dungeon, there are miners getting ready to, basically the miners are getting ready to kind of come in and work, right? So we're just going to have, there's some carts here, got their horses, some tents. Basically these guys are like, well, it's haunted, but they're not going to go in until everything's clear. So give me some miners, some workers, a couple of dwarves, owner, and let's see, a few others. Dwarf, guys carrying bags. Just kind of set them out front. Mark the time, or dwarves. Just kind of a little scene out front, so I kind of know that, hey, this is a little encampment. Let's see, I get some sleeping bags out here. Like a little campfire, just a small little campfire, a little roasted pig. Some animals, guys working. There we go. Just a nice little scene out front. That way, it kind of looks like a mine, if you will. The other thing that I have that I like to do I have this extra aquarium terrain, which I love to put out because it really does add a little extra, especially if I put them right next to the entrance here, kind of like Rocky Mountain, if you will. Make sure that one's wide enough. And this is really just ambiance and flavor. But I find it really does make a difference, right? It's like they may ask, is there anything in that cave? It's like, no, not really. But I see now if you're looking at it now, it does look like a little setup out front. Right? So a little more flavor to what's going on. And you can see the whole table as a whole. Quite setup. Didn't really take us all that long either. So now the important part. I'm going to cover it so that they can't see what's going on, right? Fog of war. And if you've seen me do this before, you know I always do this back to front because you lift off the front first and you don't want to have to pick up something in order to lift off the back, right? So we go 6 to 5. And sheets, since they are nice and light, make for the best fog of war. And yeah, might able. Let's see. Oh yeah, I can even do 4 and get the passage here. And if something falls down, I just heard like a stalagmite might fall. No, not a big deal. This one, I will get this middle section here and I will get 3. So that way, the middle section here, all the way through 3. The important thing is to kind of tuck it. Let's see, my camera over here. I kind of missed some of it. All right, so the first blanket's here. That covers 6, 5, and 4. This is 3 here. 2, 3, and actually, it looks like I can get 1 with 2 whole sheets. So that's nice. I forgot to put something down here in this little cave. Let's do that. Let's put spore. And actually, let's put a skeleton. Just somebody who died, or a dead person. We will totally ad-lib this one. Somebody ran down here in this little niche and got attacked and got ate. So, just something for them to discover. So, yeah. Very nice. And now it's all covered. The entire thing is fog of war. Let's go back to the camera, see how we did. Looking at everything. Kind of come back around here. Whew. So that wasn't too terrible. Didn't take very long. It goes pretty quick with caves as long as you get the measurements right. One more time to kind of look at the map. As the map up close, that's kind of what we worked with. You kind of see we changed it just a little bit as we moved the entrance from over here to kind of more here in the middle. And we changed the exit kind of back over here a little bit. But the basic structure holds true. And that's really what's important because the players will never really see the actual map until they watch this and they'll be like, wait a minute. But by that time, it's over, too late, they don't care. So once again, thanks for sitting with us with the DM build. Much appreciated. Make sure you check out our other episodes. You can check them out on the YouTube site and watch the other ones on Twitch. I stream reruns all the time. Feel free to visit us on our Facebook page at Shadows of Dawn 5e. or check out, and from the Facebook page, you can also check out the Figma site. The Figma site has links to everything we have, even the Teespring store. Even if you want to see the old kind of stuff on World Anvil doesn't give me as much control as Figma does, so I flesh out the campaign world mostly on the Figma site. And then there's links to Twitch. Even our Discord is also there. So thanks for being with us. It's much appreciated as always. Peace to you guys and take care.